welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and as you saw from our introduction, we are going to have a little discussion tonight about refugees and their new life in the United States. But before we begin, I would like to invite you, if you have a suggestion for a future topic or a question or just want to say hi, you can always email me at talk@bcattv.org. So day or night, email's always available. I would like to thank the crew for this evening. Wonderful people who have given up their Wednesday nights. We have Chris Flaherty, who's one of the staff members here at BCAT, making sure that those of us who are volunteers make sure everything runs smoothly and know where the fire extinguisher is. We have volunteers, Lucian, I'm just kidding about the fire extinguisher thing. We have Lucian Gates, Evan McNamee, and Christina Nikitas, who have willingly given up their Wednesday night to come here and hang out at BCAT and maybe learn a little something in the process. Last but definitely not least, it's tradition, I have to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night and babysitting the cats. So I think that's all the housekeeping. Now, I would like to introduce you to my wonderful guests. We have Lisa DeAngelis and Jason DeAngelis. And thank you guys for giving up your Wednesday evening as well. Get paid in cookies. And I wasn't sure of what your job title was, so I basically called you Refugee Support Advocates. So I think that's kind of fitting. So anyway, beginning of each show, I usually just kind of get the 5-cent tour, where you grew up, how you came to the Eastern Mass area, because I know you're not from Burlington, and how you got involved in being an advocate for refugees. And I know that's going to take up a while, so take your time. We have no real agenda.
All right. So I am originally from Oregon, and I came out here to go to Boston University.
Now, was that for grad school? Because I know you went grad school there.
Both.
Oh,
I
okay.
came out here for undergrad at BU, yep. Yep, and so I studied occupational therapy, and I've been a pediatric occupational therapist in the Cambridge, Somerville, Waltham vicinity for a long time, over 20 years.
Oh my gosh. No, don't say that, because now I feel old.
We are old.
Yes, we are old.
And I work in early intervention, so I do a lot of home visiting. I work with families, I work with children, birth to 3, from all over the world, speaking different languages with different issues. And I love what I do, so yeah.
So now you get to volunteer doing the same stuff.
So now this is service coordinating for early intervention on steroids with this family. So we live in Waltham, and we came to Burlington because we know you.
Thank you.
And this is
your turn. Yeah, I know you're not originally from Oregon.
Yeah, I was born here in Massachusetts. I think I was born in Newton. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
And how old are you?
I'm 13.
And what grade are you in?
I'm in 7th grade.
Okay, Mom. So, how did you guys get introduced to this family? I know we talked about it before, but now it counts.
It really started with Jason coming home from school one day.
Yeah, so I was in 5th grade, and my teacher, she said to me, and the whole class, we had a gathering, and I think all the other classes had the same thing. Mm-hmm. And we were all just together, and she said, she was kind of giving us a little bit of like a heads up about there's going to be a family of 9 coming here, or 8 coming here.
Okay.
And they've never been to school, and she wanted us to be, be nice. Yeah. Be respectful, be patient, just reminding us like what they've been through getting here and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And then through you said eventually through the wonders of Facebook, but what was the next step? How did you get involved?
So I think
'Cause there's
once
always
the
that-
family
yeah,
came,
okay.
they had three children at Jason's school, and one was also in 5th grade. So they would see each other at lunch and at recess, and so Jason sort of had a little bit of a connection and awareness of this family and who they were, and I think you thought they were pretty cool people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Jason was already establishing a little
Okay.
bit of a
Now,
connection.
Backing up a little bit,
Yeah.
in Waltham, is 5th grade still part of the elementary
Yeah.
school, or is it okay? Because Billerica, which is right next to us, their middle school starts in 5th grade.
Oh, okay.
But in Burlington, 5th grade is still part of the elementary. So I just wanted
Yep.
to kind of clarify
Yep.
that. So
Same.
thank you.
Yep. And then they also had a daughter who started at middle school, 6th grade,
Okay.
and then several others at home. Anyway,
Now, you had told me earlier that they really weren't sure how old these kids were when they came over because, records were kind of lost either in translation or in transport.
Yep.
So how did the schools figure out where to place them? Did they have any testing done, or was it just...
so this is a family of, now there are 7 children. The youngest was born here, and the children the oldest children were born at home.
Okay.
They were delivered at home. The younger children, some of them were born in a hospital. There were no records. So somehow, in the process of coming here, they were given ages that seemed to be very mismatched.
Okay.
Maybe they gave the right age to the wrong child. We're really not sure what happened, but several of the kids have ages that make them a good 2, 3, 4 years older than they really are. So yes, so we have a current girl that we believe is 8, and she's legally 12.
Oh, wow. That's a
So
big gap.
It's a big gap, and so you look at them on paper and you think, well, this is where they should go, and then you bring them to the school and say, what's going on?
And they've never had any formal education, so it's like...
They have nothing. They don't speak English.
And just to kind of clarify, without disclosing too much, they came over here because of a war.
Yes. So, this family's from Afghanistan. They're from a fairly rural area, not too far from a city, but they were kind of based on a farm, I think.
Okay.
Farm life, close to Pakistan. And the father was in the Afghan military working for the U.S.
Okay.
So he was actively fighting the Taliban for the United States. So
Now they're here.
and now they're here. Yes, so they evacuated with everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's weird, it's just, thinking of that process, it's interesting how they ended up in Massachusetts and in Waltham.
Yes, so they were originally sent to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
They were living in a refugee camp for, I think, about 2 months.
Wow.
And then they got, while they were being sorted out,
Okay.
and they got sent to Waltham because there was housing that was a decent match for them, for the size of their family.
Okay.
So that's how they ended up in Waltham.
Okay.
The agency that put them in Waltham is based in Worcester.
Okay.
So they sort of landed in Waltham with a big group of volunteers
Okay.
who helped them get set up with registering for school and
Okay.
mass health and
Because I'm
that
also
stuff.
thinking there, how did either of you, both of you, manage the language barrier? Because, whatever language they speak is not one of the standard ones that you would learn in
Right.
either, middle school or high school around here. It's like French, Spanish, or Italian. So,
Yeah.
So how did you adjust how did you adjust with this person in your school?
So a lot of the times, like when I was first meeting with the oldest boy, we would just be playing tag and like simple things like I'd be telling him, this is a slide and you slide down it and really simple stuff like that. And you kind of have to adopt a little bit of like a speaking in broken English a little bit.
Okay.
Very
Just like keywords.
yeah, keywords and not too much detail, I guess I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sign language.
It's a lot of gestures. It's a lot of pointing and laughing. It's a lot of pulling out your phone and Googling.
Google Translate. What did we do before Google Translate?
Yeah, exactly. You Google juice, you Google mango, you Google, because you think you're understanding what they're saying, but
Yeah.
you're not sure, and they say, yes, that's it, or no, that's not it. I did a lot of pictures, not photos, but pictures
Okay.
that I would,
Like clip art type?
like clip art,
Okay.
yeah, to almost make like a schedule,
Okay.
from my
I've worked in
OT
some
skills.
preschool classrooms
Yes.
where,
Yeah. Pictures that, they would call me up and they would need help with, dosing for medication for the different ages of the kids because they can't read the bottles. So they can't see what's the kid's dose, what's the adult's dose, which one is for
and
which.
what's cold medicine and what's,
They don't, yeah. So I would take pictures and print them out and, pictures of a moon and a sun for morning and night, There's just a lot of graphics, a lot of visuals.
Now, were the kids in mainstream classrooms or were they in like an ESL? English is a second language. How did they fit in the school?
So in elementary, you don't really, there's not, or at least where I went to, there's not a whole lot of like taking people out of classes for ESL, but there is, like if there was a test coming up or there was work that had a lot of reading, then one of the, like an assistant teacher or someone they're designed to teach
Like a
English.
one-on-one type?
Yeah, like that, and they'd take them into another room and help them through it without, too much.
So how has the transition to middle school work? Because middle school, do you change like classrooms for subjects?
Yeah, so it's really difficult to take someone out of a class because every hour, 57 minutes, something like that, you change classes. You go to room this, room that, room XYZ, and then, so it's really hard to find a time for that. So usually what happens in middle school is they replace one of your specials like gym or tech or art or something like that, drama, and they put it as another block like, ESL, something like that.
Okay, so that's their special.
Yeah, and then there's usually, like for something like that, there's 6th grade ESL, 7th grade ESL, 8th grade ESL, and I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it's like a whole group, everyone in the 7th grade who's available or,
needs the ESL
needs the
class. They're all
ESL.
in the same class.
Yeah.
So I can speak to that a little bit because at the elementary level, they really just pushed them into typical classrooms.
Okay.
I think they did a screening and they kind of based on what they thought their age was and how old they legally were and just put them in to their best guess. They did a pretty nice job, I think. The daughter who started as a 6th grader went into a program called SLIFE, which is students with limited or interrupted formal education.
Oh, okay.
And it's a program that I believe every district has.
Okay.
So she was in that program. And
Now, does that start in middle school or is it?
it starts in middle school.
Okay.
Yep. So she was in that program for part of the year, and then she actually ended up following a different special ed track
Okay.
based on her needs. But the boy who was a fifth grader went from fifth grade to the sixth grade SLIFE program. And he did not like that.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to be with his American friends.
Okay.
And he had amazing social skills, and his spoken English came quickly.
Okay.
And so he really pushed to get moved to the mainstream school that
Okay.
Jason was going to, which was maybe good for him socially, but it was a real challenge academically,
Okay.
because when you start school in fifth grade, you don't read, you don't write, you don't
And all of a sudden you're doing
know math,
algebra.
and you're doing algebra, So it's,
And U.S. history and.
yeah. I have learned so much about the educational process and system for these families, and how really unprepared districts are for this level of need. I mean, they have what they have, they do the best they can, but it's been a real struggle.
So, okay, I'm not following this at all.
That's a tangent.
But what resources are available for families? I mean, can you be a legal advocate to have them in the special needs programs or ESL class? Well, obviously ESL classes, but medical needs or anything. What authority are you given, if any?
I am given the authority that the parents sign over to me.
Okay.
So
And they probably
I am not their parents.
right.
And I never will be. So the educational and the medical, it always comes back to the parents.
Okay.
But the parents have been willing to sign releases for me to talk to many, 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 many people, which I hope has been a benefit
Okay.
to the kids and the parents.
Because I'm also thinking, yes, there's school, but there's also housing and transportation and job applications and health insurance and everything. Insurance and
Yeah.
and it's not normally translated into certain.
Pashto.
Yeah.
And the father can read a little bit in Pashto
Okay.
to about a fifth grade level. But that doesn't get you too far when it comes to an IEP in America.
Right.
And the mother is not literate at all.
Okay.
So even if it's written, it's not very helpful to anyone in that family.
Now, are there any translation services available other than Google Translate?
So Google Translate does not have the text to voice for Pashto, which is a real disability in itself for everybody. One of the kids' teachers was just telling me last week that for the kids who speak Spanish, if she gets to a roadblock in math class, she can actually just translate it to Spanish.
Okay.
And, if that's what they need in order to learn the math, that's what she'll do.
Okay.
And she had been doing that for this child, but it was not beneficial for him. So that's just one, tool that they lose. So it's tough. And in Waltham, there was one live person, Pashto interpreter, who lived on the South Shore that they used for every single meeting.
Oh, wow.
So every single meeting, depended upon her schedule.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and because the pandemic was over, they're not allowed to use video interpreters,
Really? Okay.
which was also
like
a huge
everybody
loss.
uses video now
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
if anything the pandemic taught us.
At the doctor's office, they will
Yeah.
use a video translator, but in the school setting, they won't do that.
Okay.
So that means if something comes up at school, it's very hard for the teacher to call the parents.
Okay. So let's back up a little bit
Yeah.
because I finally did look at my notes. Your family got involved because of Jason's connection through school. But listening to you, it sounds like it's more than a full-time job.
Yeah.
So were there other families from the school or from the neighborhood or from anywhere to help distribute the necessary needs of this family? I know that doesn't make much sense, but
What would you say about that?
I would say there's a little bit of it, but most of it's just random people from around Massachusetts near Waltham. There was a little bit of like the neighbors where the family used to live,
okay.
you know, giving them things, giving them bicycles, giving them stuff like that. But most of the time, it's not a whole lot of like concentrated people. It's just some here, some there.
Like people kind of drifting in and
Yeah,
out. and
yeah,
One-time things.
yeah.
We started with a huge group of volunteers.
Okay.
Because this is a pretty compelling story and a pretty compelling family. And they're pretty charming. They're pretty lovable.
Yeah.
So most of the time.
Yeah.
And you guys have good hearts too.
And
so
we
it's hard
have
to say,
good hearts.
Like, no.
Yeah. Well, but it's a compelling family, and we had a big group of people, and the initial group started with a group of women from a Mormon church, and their connections, and people really rallied to drive them places and bring them things and play with the kids and babysit the kids while the parents went someplace. And it was pretty amazing how people showed up. But this is a long-term project, this particular family.
So it's already been like
It's been
2 years.
2.5 years.
2.5,
Yeah,
wow.
we started in December of 21 when they first arrived.
So that's still kind of pandemic-y.
It was a little bit,
bit,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we all went through COVID. We all got COVID because they got COVID. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've been through a lot with them, and people showed up, and then their own lives moved forward, and they moved on.
Okay.
And this family is
High maintenance.
it's a lot of work with 9 people, 2 parents and 7 children.
Okay.
And there's just a tremendous amount of need for parenting education and advocacy and just teaching and support and consistency. And
Okay.
that is not something that is common in a volunteer world, I think. So after about 6 months, 90% of those people were gone.
Wow.
And I stuck around because I was in it.
In it to win it, yeah.
Yep.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, and I brought in some people, my own contacts. I pulled in every resource I could.
Like your kid.
Yeah.
It never would have worked if it didn't work for Jason. And that's really the truth. Because
Now, is your dad involved at all?
Oh,
At
yeah.
all? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it wouldn't have worked if it didn't work for Jason, and if it didn't work for my husband too, obviously. But I think Jason was the key because he had a real strong friendship, really, with the 2 boys, And it made it, you know, possible for me to spend
Countless
5 out of 7 evenings at their house, you know, after, you know,
Yeah.
it just made it work. So, yeah. So after the big exodus, and then we, you know, it just dwindles and dwindles and dwindles. And I would say that the past year has felt incredibly difficult for me. It has felt like a full-time job. And it's not thankless, because I think that the family does appreciate what I'm doing. But I'm a little bit on an island.
Now, eventually, will there be agencies and organizations like, you know, DSF, or I don't know, will there be a governmental support system for them, so it's not all volunteers out of the goodness of their hearts?
So the agency that placed them in Waltham, their responsibility is to get them housed, distribute the funds, because they come with a stipend from the government.
Okay.
And, you know, provide whatever resources they have for about 90 days. That's their commitment.
Yeah,
It's about 90 days. And then they're pretty much hands off. So they have
90 days is not a lot to do anything.
Just imagine moving to a new country.
Yeah.
And setting up and being ready to go.
And not even really getting to choose where you go.
Yeah.
And it's like the housing market in here is like really expensive. I was just having a chat with my son on the way over here going, somebody who makes minimum wage can't afford, forget about having, you know, 7 kids at home.
Yeah.
That's right.
So financially, is there...
So that agency is sort of, they really were not able to help very much, partly because of their location and partly because of how they function. Of course, this family has EBT money, food stamps, they have Mass Health, they have all of that, and they qualify for everything because of the size of their family and the low income. There's tons of resources for people who are ready to receive them and ready to take the initiative and make good use of them. So, I think most public libraries have, in Waltham, I would imagine in Burlington too, will have ESL resources, whether it's a conversation group or will help you do your taxes, or there's so many resources out there. But you have to know what you need, and you have to know who to ask, and you have to know how to get there. And this family, I'm not kidding you, came to this country with no concept of a calendar or of the clock.
Oh boy.
So,
yeah, it's kind of hard to hold on a job when you don't really
or
follow.
Get to the dentist, or catch the bus to go to the library. And all of those things are scary and overwhelming. And the mother in this family, they're devout Muslims, and she wears a burqa when she leaves the house. She doesn't go out by herself.
And then, we've been talking about, like, in a different group that I'm with, about discrimination and how the system itself. So being a religious target also is threatening as well. So
I have not seen that.
Okay.
And I haven't heard that they have felt it.
Okay.
I don't know if you have seen that at school or heard.
I mean, there's obviously in middle school there's horseplay, making fun of each other, but it's from what I've heard, being just near them, I don't think there's any.
Okay.
At least from what I've heard.
No, like danger.
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, is there a religious community that they can get involved in?
So again,
if they chose.
for people who are looking for that kind of support, I think it could be there.
Okay.
You know, there is a mosque. I want to say Weston, but I don't think that's correct. But it's not so far from Waltham.
Okay.
But you need a car. You need to know where to go. It's hard to walk in cold. They don't all speak Pashto. And the mother never went to mosque in Afghanistan. It wasn't something women did. They would pray at home.
Okay.
And the father, for whatever reason, is not willing or interested in going to mosque.
Okay.
And this family in general is sort of distrustful of other Afghans.
Oh, okay.
Which makes it complicated.
Interesting.
It's really hard. So there are a lot of resources for people who are ready to make use of them. The other thing I was going to say is that there are many more resources available for Spanish-speaking immigrants, or Portuguese, or Haitian Creole,
not
or
a lot of the Middle Eastern.
No.
Yeah.
The SLIFE program that the sixth grader was in was all Spanish-speaking kids.
Wow.
And that didn't feel like who he was.
Yeah.
He didn't feel great about being in that group. So that's a challenge. You know, things come home from school and it's English on one side, it's Spanish on the other side.
Yeah, our school system just implemented a new app called Parent Square. I don't know if you guys use it, but apparently, you know, fortunately, you know, I feel privileged, I guess, because I don't need the translation services, but they said it is able to translate into other languages. So is there that kind of resource that's provided?
In Waltham, I have not seen that in Waltham.
Okay.
They actually are now in Worcester, and Worcester is just about to launch the Parent Square. But
Yet another app.
right, but imagine an app for they now have.
Do they even have a smartphone?
They have 5 children in the school system. In elementary, middle school, and high school. So 3 different levels.
Like preschool.
And a 2-year-old and a upcoming kindergartner.
Wow.
So that's a lot of kids to track, even if it were you and me speaking and reading English.
Yeah.
And this family reads at a 5th grade level at best.
And just the costs involved, because Massachusetts has a very high real estate rental cost of, you know, housing and transportation, whether it's, you know, your own car, I mean, or public transportation, you still need to get, you know, the Charlie card or whatever. Well, I know they don't have that in Worcester. Smartphones, getting a smartphone.
Yeah.
The initial cost, and then and if you don't understand the language, how would you figure out how to use it?
Yeah.
I don't even, my smartphone's smarter than I am.
Right. Oh, they're smarter than all of us. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there is one smartphone in that family, and the father uses it. But, you know, does he read his email? No. I read his email. And if there's something important in there, I let him know. And
but that right there is you've built a trust, because he's like, here, you know.
Yeah, but it's a trust that I'm trying to. I want the trust, but I want him to read his own email.
Yeah.
Because I can't do that.
So there's
forever.
the trust, but then there's also, you know, you need him to pick up. You can't be there for.
That's right.
Okay, that just hit me. Is he's coming from a very traditional male-dominated society, so he probably doesn't see you as an equal. He probably sees you as like a subservient.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm not sure how he sees me, but I think that what this family has observed and learned is that the helpers in this country are women.
Ah, okay.
And then in order to be an advocate and a helper in this kind of situation, you have to be pretty strong. And
Okay.
and you have to know your way around. And so I think that he has learned that
He's got to accept you.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's not pushing me around. That he is not pushing me around. But
He also knows that you'll say, bye.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
So how have you, both of you, either of you, been able to manage your own nuclear family as well as still provide them the support that they need? I mean, how do you find that balance?
It's really difficult, but because they have phones, and they know how to call us, and they know how to call mom. So, sometimes they don't really understand, getting in other people's business or, just taking a break. But it's just taking a break it's hard to explain to them.
Yeah.
Or for them to understand. But I will say that it's very fun whenever they come to our house or anything like that. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Because it's like, if you ever want to do like a family vacation, you can't take them to Disney World.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah, it's tricky. It's really tricky because we've sort of developed this relationship that's. I joke that I have two I have a second family. They really are like a second family.
well, at this point, yeah.
They really are, and we care about each other.
Okay.
Really, sort of as family, and the boys will come down to our house. We have a condo.
A little closer to Worcester.
A little closer to Worcester, and the boys will come, and sometimes the girls will come, and it really is a lot of fun. And I've figured out how to, shop it for halal food and make food that they like, and I think they've learned a lot from us, and we've learned a lot from them, and we really enjoy them and enjoy seeing the kids especially progress. And so we get a lot out of it, but it has pushed us to the limit.
Stick a fork in me.
More than once. And we have really had to find ways to step back and say, nope, you're not coming this weekend. And we're doing our own thing right now. And, it's painful for them for sure.
So, Jason, you mentioned that you enjoy the company of the two kids that are roughly your age. Do you have any interaction, or what kinds of interaction do you have with either the older sister or the younger siblings?
Yeah.
Because there's still 5 other kids that,
Yeah. Whenever I go to their house, you can't really have one without having the rest.
Okay.
But
Well,
there's 7 of them, so I see little girls walking around and drawing, reading, whatever it is. Hey Jason, can you help me read this book, or whatever it is. And sometimes they're nice, sometimes not so much, but
just like real siblings.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how have you found the real, the career, work, home, family, and the second full-time? How do you balance everything?
It's hard. It all just blends together. I'm fortunate because I work part-time. So I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule, and Jason is our only child. So, I feel like I have more time and energy and flexibility to fit my second family into my life. Yeah, but it's hard. It's been a tricky balance, especially for Jason and for my husband.
So I'm looking down at my question. What have you learned about yourself or about our community as a whole working with this family? Yeah, I know there's no easy answer to that, but
I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, but I learned that there's a lot more to, being a refugee than, okay, here you are, we'll give you a plane trip, here you are, this is your house, this is where you can get food. I mean, I've also learned, what it's like having siblings, or having brothers, having sisters, stuff like that. Yeah.
sharing your stuff.
Yeah. Sharing.
Yes.
Arguing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, thinking of that, empathy or, communication or patience, I mean, that had to really teach you a hard life lesson dealing with them.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about myself, about, how much patience I have,
Probably have a lot more now than you used to.
Yeah, a lot more. Yeah.
Have you tried picking up their language at all? Just
I've actually just not really, on purpose, but I've picked up a tiny bit, a really small, minuscule amount. I can count to 10. I can say what happened. I can say thank you. That's
the
about
key
it.
stuff.
Yeah, key stuff.
I hear them playing, Minecraft or Roblox or whatever it is they're playing, and I hear the little snippets of Pashto that come out of his mouth. Yeah, and he doesn't always use complete sentences in English when he's speaking with them. Sometimes they're like, "Why are you talking like that,
old
Jason?"
habits are hard. Habits are hard to break.
They are. It's funny. Sometimes the boys will say, "Why do you talk like that?" What do you say?
Oh yeah, hold on, I forgot.
Yeah.
Get the brain
Full English. Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? I mean, it seems to me that your professional training made you a lot better fit for working with them, even though they're like 16-year-old toddlers. Not to oversimplify, but you're still teaching them a new language. You're teaching them skills.
Yeah.
How to sit down and not fidget.
Yeah. Right.
If they've never been in a formal education setting. So how do you...
Yeah, I do feel like my life of work has prepared me for this, and in a way that not everybody is prepared to do. And that's why I'm sort of the last one standing, because it just is not for everybody, and I don't know. It's just something that's in me to do this kind of work, and it just feels so valuable. It feels so worthwhile when I think about these 7 children and their futures, and I see so much potential, and that's what keeps me going, because I just want them to succeed. And I want them to feel like they came to this country and didn't get abandoned by their own country or our country.
Yeah, okay.
Which, would be really easy to feel.
After 90 days, you're on your own.
Yeah. It's just a tremendous amount of adjustment. So I think I've kind of seen that in myself more than I knew I had in me before. I feel like I'm a good fit for this kind of role. But I have been pushed to my limit for sure.
Stick a fork in me.
And the community piece, I think, is really interesting because I think I had more hope that there would, that it takes a village concept.
Okay.
I think I had more hope that the neighbors would step up and take kids to the playground because clearly the parents were overwhelmed, or, that there would just be more community people who would invite the kids to the birthday parties and make sure they got there, and kind of give that extra. People are just so busy with their own lives it's just not readily available, and people aren't aware, they don't know how to jump in. So I feel like I've done my own networking and pulled people in to help out with things, and that's been good. It's been a real eye-opener to learn about mass health and learn about EBT and learn about how they work and don't work. And
oh, wow. Yeah, that right there.
Yeah.
It's a complicated system.
It's complicated, and their benefits are not unlimited. This family will get the max benefit out of probably what anybody could ever get. But their youngest just turned 2. And after 2 years, the mother is expected to get a job.
Yeah.
So they will start losing their cash assistance unless she gets a job.
Gainful employment.
Which
what do you do?
She can't speak English, she can't read, she can't write, and she's got 7 children at home.
Yeah.
So that's just not going to happen.
Wow.
So.
Okay, thinking back to 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
Knowing what you know now and what you've experienced over the past 2.5 years, would you do it again? And would you do it anything differently? And if so, what would you do differently?
You want to go first?
Sure. I think when they first got here, we didn't really know what to do with them. So there was a lot of, I don't want to say pampering, but we gave them a whole bunch of the community neighbors, etc. Gave them bikes, gave them toys. Mm-hmm. Every other day there'd be, wow, what's this? A new bike. And after a month, a few weeks, something like that, it really dropped off what they were getting, and then it kind of made it a little bit unpleasant because for a little while at least, because they were expecting, when's our next gift going to be?
Yeah.
When's our next bike going to be? I would also say that maybe not so much involvement as, or maybe not being involved as much as we have been. Mm-hmm. Because although, not to brag, but, helping out is a big part of anything, getting to the kids getting to the bus, mm-hmm. going to school, getting food, what's safe to eat, what's not safe to eat. Yeah.
But they've now grown to depend so much on you that it's hard, and, like you said, oh, when's my next gift coming? So it's hard to let go. It's hard to back off.
Exactly, yeah.
Because they've grown to rely on you like a crutch.
And it's like a crutch. And sometimes we've even, or we've tried to put things down for them, okay, you give them a plan, okay, this is the store you can go to, it has food, the EBT card, I'll write it on your arm for you, you can put it into the code machine, PIN code machine,
okay,
etc. And it's not easy to get them on board with some of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Total culture shock in so many different levels.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I would say there are fine lines between, helping and enabling and teaching, and it's a constant reevaluation of what I'm doing. For me, am I doing it the right way? Am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? And I think in the beginning it really just felt like this family they simply cannot get their child to their 12-month doctor's appointment. They can't do it. They don't have a car. They don't know how to call. They're going to get an appointment time and date, and they can't write it down, and they can't put it in their calendar, and they're not going to remember it. They cannot do it. So I did those things, and of course the parents had to go with me, and it's not as if I just took over parenting. But at a certain point, the parents need to figure out how to write down that date and track it. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And for me, when it comes to the children, it's hard to let those things drop.
Right.
Because if I know someone's got a toothache, I, as a mother, can't walk away from that.
Fix it.
I have to fix it, and I have to push. And how do I push? It's not my child. He's not my husband. She's not my sister. And so what is my role? It's been very hard all along. And what their expectations are of, this family they just dropped into our lives to help us with everything.
And they're going to do it forever.
And they're going to do it forever. And that's not what we want it to be. So.
Now, what kind, and I know this isn't on the cheat sheet, what kind of support system do you have to keep your sanity, to just vent about all of what's going on in your lives, in their lives? I mean, middle school's hard enough. Imagine you're trying to navigate your own path as well as their path. What kind of support systems, if any, do you have? Is it just each other, or?
So we, the three of us, our family is pretty solid with a lot of that support. I have one other woman who's also pretty well connected, and we support each other. And there is a DCF social worker who I report to every time I get frustrated.
You're going to have to take over. I'm losing it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So.
And have these support systems been effective for you?
I mean, yes,
I would.
Yeah. This is not a one woman show. This family needs so much, and
they need 9 supports. They need 9 families to help them.
And that's where we were when they arrived. We had 9 families helping them, and that was too much. Okay. I think it was too much help, and with all the best intentions, the things that people would do. Okay. Oh, I think they need, those kids need puzzles. They need to learn how to, they need baby dolls. Well, you take them puzzles and baby dolls, and they
need an iPad.
They lose it. They draw on them. They get thrown in the trash.
They do what normal kids do.
Yes, and yes, they didn't need more and more and more of that. So in some ways, having fewer people is good, because it's more focused help, and I have more control over saying, I'm not doing that for you anymore, and there's nobody else who's going to do it for you, so you're going to have to do it yourself now.
Have you been able to say that? 'Cause
I have.
I don't know if I'd be able to say that.
Oh yeah, we had.
I'd say it up here, but
in the true family way, we have these conversations, and I I say those things. I get to my point.
Are there other refugee families in the area that they're connected with? I know you said earlier that there is a trust issue. It's hard to build trust. But are there others that they knew before they came over that they can connect with? And have they been able to do that?
So where they are living now, on their street, there are 2 houses of Afghan refugees.
Okay.
So they have met them all, and they see them sometimes. They visit each other sometimes. It never sounds like it's a true support for them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I hope that grows. But so far, they haven't been looking for that.
So with the 2.5 years that you've been helping them, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? And is that the light of day or an oncoming train?
Yeah, I think the reality is that they'll probably be in our life forever, in some way,
Even though they're like
wherever
50
they
miles
are.
away.
Yeah, they might move. You know, they might move far away. But I think we, especially the children, we have connections that will
Excellent.
endure.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're out of time. So thank you much. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story and their story. Wishing you much success, much support, much assistance with transition. But thank you for joining us. And I also want to thank everyone at home for tuning in. And I hope you have found our conversation as connecting or as intriguing, or I don't know what the words, but hope you've enjoyed the conversation as much as I have. So thank you very much. Have a great night, and I will see you around town. Good night.